Hey, it is Wake Up with KC, and I'm so excited to talk about this topic. So many of Americans and even people around the world deal with anxiety, PTSD, and so much more when it comes to mental health. But what if there is a way that we do not have to deal with that? What if hypnosis can help change all of that so you could be your best self and live your best life now? And today I have John Moyer joining us. Hey,
Hello. How are
John.
you?
I'm great. I've been waiting for you to be on my show so I can actually ask these questions.
Well, ask away. That's why I'm here.
Well, everyone, like, there has been so much in the media about mental health.
hmm Especially the last couple of years.
Yes, with this pandemic. And a thought came to me. I'm like, well, what if hypnosis or hypnotherapy can help people that suffer with anxiety or in some sort of mental health or even PTSD?
And absolutely. And now the thing is of course, everybody is different. But the thing is that what happens to us is we get situations and experiences linked up within our subconscious mind that we equate to um, pain or negative emotions and that sort of thing. And and like Joe Dispenza says, we live in the residual outcome of our past thoughts, emotions, and experiences. So, when people look around and they see kind of a bleak thing happening, just like with a lot of people over the last couple of years, then all of a sudden, their mind is going to take that and run away with it and tell us that we're supposed to feel stress, we're supposed to feel anxiety, we're supposed to feel terrified or afraid, whatever the case may be. And what you're doing essentially with hypnosis is you're going into the subconscious mind where those connections are made, and you're disconnecting connections and you're reconnecting, to new connections, so somebody can have a more positive, empowering experience for themselves.
Well, I'm always talking about, limited beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
mental programmings,
Mm-hmm.
and even emotional energetic traumas
Yeah.
that is not only in our subconscious but also internally in us because it's energy. It's a energy in motion, which is emotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And could that possibly be what's holding some of us back and we don't
Yeah.
really consciously
Well,
know it?
one of the huge challenges that society and humanity has today is the fact that we're so connected, right? We call it social media, but in a way, sometimes I refer to it as emotional media, because we're constantly being barraged with um, people telling us how we should feel. You look at, it's like clickbait with news articles or whatever. And even if you go on to see headlines like Twitter, it's a lot of it's so framed from the negative perspective, right? It's like why you should be worried about this, or this fear is, whatever the case may be. And not to mention the fact that you've got a world of people who typically, what's human behavior? To You get upset about something, so you immediately want to whip out your phone and you want to post about how upset you are or angry you are on social media, complain about something, or mock somebody else. And that just spreads around the world and people see it, and it just propagates, that negative energy. Now you couple that with the fact that, when it's like when I talk to my kids, if they're staring at their phone, right? That is actually a form of hypnosis. When you are so engaged, it's like, when you're watching a movie, you're reading a book, you're so focused on that, you kind of zone everything else out around you. So
Mhm.
you're focused on that thing. So you're kind of entering a hypnotic state in that. And that's that hypnotic state, that alpha and theta brainwave state. That's where you have access to the subconscious mind where it starts to pick up suggestion. So you've got people fixated, in a hypnotic state on because we're so conditioned to look at our phones and stare at our phones. And then on top of that, you've got some negative programming, negative emotional energy that's coming into people. So that's a big part of the challenge that we face today.
Well, not only that, but what about the habits? Because people
Yeah,
form habits, habits form their future.
yeah,
And then what you think, how you feel, and the things you do repetitiously creates a mood, which creates a personal personality. Then it also manifests into your own personal reality.
yeah, yeah.
So wouldn't hypnosis, like if someone's like struggling with all of the like whatever issue, whatever hypnosis can sort of change that, go to the subconscious and like rewrite the script kind of thing?
That's exactly what it is. The subconscious mind is it's our operating system, right? It's our computer programming. So
It's
what you're
the hard
doing,
drive.
it's the hard drive, right? So you're going into the hard drive and you are deleting some information and you're adding new information. And the way that I kind of the analogy that I use for hypnosis is if you think about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and between the conscious and the subconscious mind, there is a thing called the critical faculty. It's kind of a firewall between the two. It's the gatekeeper of the subconscious mind. And I liken it unto the bouncer outside of a nightclub, the big guy with a red velvet rope who
Mhm.
determines who gets into the club and who doesn't get into the club. So what you're doing with hypnosis is you're basically distracting the bouncer with a red velvet rope and and while the bouncer is distracted and looking away, you're putting in, that new information into the subconscious mind. Because the subconscious mind is typically, it doesn't like change. It's very lazy. It's like we're in a pattern of doing things, and this is how, we do things. And this is how we're going to continue to do things. It's like when somebody, you read a book, you see a movie, maybe you go to a seminar, whatever the case may be, and you go, these ideas make so much sense. This is great, and I'm going to start incorporating this into my life, and my life is going to be changed, and I'm going to be wonderful, and I'm going to be happy. And the thing is that consciously it makes sense. And, after 3 days, a week, whatever the case may be, you're back to the same old patterns of behavior. And the reason why that is because consciously it makes sense, but subconsciously, your subconscious mind goes, of course it makes sense, but for everybody else and not for us, because we can never get, what we prefer. We can't succeed. Nothing ever works out for us. And that's why it's so important that making, a change for yourself to discover that new reality um, is changing the reality inside of your subconscious mind.
Yeah, because it's the limited beliefs that not only we created, but
Hmm.
the beliefs that have been passed on for generations as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Because I mean, the thing about the subconscious mind is that nothing has to logically make sense. When you look at something consciously, you're kind of able to make an evaluation. You're able to see that something, makes sense or it doesn't. You can look at 2 plus 2 and see that it equals, let's say, 7, and consciously goes, no, that doesn't make sense because I know that 2 plus 2 equals 4. You can reason it out. You go into the subconscious mind and you can literally tell the subconscious mind that 2 plus 2 equals 7, and that's how that equation is going to come out for you. So, and this is something I've done when I've done my stage show. And one of the kind of a standard skit that a lot of hypnotists do is, you tell somebody that the number 3 is erased from their mind or the number 7 is erased from their mind. And so you tell somebody to stand up and you say, hey, you're here to win a lot of money. All you have to do is answer an easy question. How many fingers do you have? And somebody goes, I have 10 fingers. And I go, great. Count out, show me you have 10 fingers, and you'll get $1 million, whatever the case. And they start counting. Well, somebody will go 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then they just stare at their hands because they can't figure out why they have 11 fingers. Now, consciously, we know that we have 10 fingers, but when you take that number out of the equation in the subconscious mind, no matter what you do, um, it's always going to add up to 11. So that is kind of, and it's one of the things that I say to people. So look, if you've got, the audience members is what I say. If you have something in your life that you want to, delete, a limiting belief that you want to get rid of, this is how it works with the subconscious mind. You get in there, you delete, and you reinstall the new information.
Well, what if the client or customer does not know what they're struggling, but they can't figure out what that block is? Are you, as a hypnosis expert, able to communicate with the subconscious and find out what that is, what the like get to the root of the problem?
And that's also another interesting. It has been a conversation amongst. Do we need to understand why the thing is the way that it is in order to resolve the behavior? And some people have differing, opinions on that. You think you need to go back, you need to figure out why it is, and then you can address the resulting behavior. Whereas other people might just go, it doesn't, you just need to address the resulting behavior. But typically, if somebody's working with a client, one on one. You're going to sit
Well, I'm
down.
like, what
Yeah.
it just makes sense to me. Like, well, you got to get to the root of the problem so it doesn't repeat itself. Where was it created? Where did it originate?
And
And then you
that typically is what like a traditional, approach might take. Let's go back and let's figure this out. Um, Now I'll give you an example of somebody that it was a friend of mine that I worked with. And now the interest, and it wasn't a life challenging problem for challenge for them. It was just more of a curiosity. But their entire life, there was something weird with peanut butter. Like the thought of peanut butter, the smell of peanut butter, the sight of peanut butter made them choke and gag and feel anxiety. As strange as that. So they never gave their kids peanut butter. They avoided peanut butter. Again, not a life debilitating situation. Now, so what we did is I did a hypnosis session. Now, but they were curious to understand why that was. Now, you could hypnotize somebody to go, peanut butter doesn't bother you, right? Peanut butter, you feel neutral about it, et cetera, and so forth. And the subconscious mind could actually act upon that and not have any issues with peanut butter. So
Mhm.
you don't necessarily need to know what caused it to resolve the problem. They wanted to know what it was. And the weird thing is we was able to go back in hypnosis, and they realized when they were about 2 years old or so, they were being babysat by a relative, and the siblings were in high chairs. They were given a peanut butter sandwich to eat, and they were playing with the food. And the relative got really upset, and was taking the peanut butter sandwich and like shoving it in the kid's mouth and being angry. You will eat this, stop playing with your food. And that caused choking and gagging and anxiety, and that the subconscious mind had that linked up their entire life to peanut butter.
Oh,
Um,
I relate that to emotional energetic trauma.
yeah, yeah, that's the stuff that's kind of floating around. Of course, if it was a debilitating situation for somebody, depending on the case, you don't necessarily need to know what caused it to stop it, from happening. So,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it would be like, you have a flat tire, right? And it's like, we know the tire's shot, right? Do we need to go back to the point in the road and figure out, did we run over a nail? Was there, what happened? No, you just put a new tire on. That's you can look at it that way too.
And does it help with hypnosis if somebody is open to and curious of, okay, I have this issue. I'm not too sure why I feel the way I do when that or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the thing is that people typically wind up using the hypnosis approach when, other things have not worked for them. It's right. It's always like that last thing
The
that
last
somebody goes,
resort.
yeah, it's like I've tried everything else. All right, well, let me see if hypnosis will work. But obviously, it does help that somebody wants to be open to something. If they're not open to something, then that can make it more. And look, if they're not open to something, they're probably not going to be there in the first place
Right.
to try to tap into um, hypnosis. But even if they crack the door open for a little bit of curiosity, that can obviously allow things to open up even further. But definitely a mindset of I prefer to experience something helps.
Wow. And have you ever done hypnosis and, you know, sometimes to me, it's like the subconscious is connected to the soul
Hmm.
and even past lives, and it's like an Akashic Records a gateway.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you done sessions where you found out about somebody's past life and tapped into that?
When I was going through, because I started doing, I trained as a stage hypnotist first, and then later on I went and certified with the National Guild of Hypnotists. But and then during the course of the training, and we had about 100 hours of classroom training. We did do some past life regression. I didn't do it on someone else live. I had it done to me, and it was an interesting experience, and I look at it from two different perspectives. On the one hand, I'm the first person to be open minded about anything and everything, right? So I'll go, okay, great, I'm open. Tell me more. So when I had it done to me, um, the weird thing is that I was taken back to I was like a mafia soldier in the 1930s, right? It was kind of weird. And now the interesting thing is my entire life, I've had a fascination, in particular with the Godfather. The first time I saw the movie, read the book, I was always fascinated with the mafia. And I graduated from theater and film school. I went on and actually wrote and directed. It was a comedy actually about a mafia family from Jersey that gets put in the witness relocation program to an all Mormon community in Utah.
Hmm.
So so I have this experience where I go, wow, I was taken back, and I was, a mafia soldier in this. Now I know I was hypnotized. I was legitimately hypnotized. I know what that feels like. There was part of me that goes, was my subconscious mind searching for this to come up with this, or was it always there? And I can honestly go, I go, I don't know which of the two, that it was. And of course I've seen other people, have past life regressions where, man, there was just like really vivid detail. There was, things that they knew and that they recalled. So I mean, I'm totally, completely open to that. And actually, I kind of believe in that, universal field of energy with everybody, one being consciously connected. Um, so relative for me, I can't definitively say it was my subconscious mind looking for something, or what was already there. But I have
You lived
created,
it before. Like
yeah,
it's
and,
in your
and
memory of it. You're remembering certain aspects. And it isn't it like a deja vu?
mhm. Yeah, when some yeah, it can be like that. When somebody goes through hypnosis, and everybody, sometimes I think they tend to think that it's supposed to be this very black and white experience, that everybody has the same experience, but it's not. When someone experiences it, when all is said and done, you'll have people that remember it kind of like a dream, or like that deja vu kind of experience, and maybe
Mhm.
things come back to them. Other people will experience something where they remember everything, but they feel so good. Because people tend to think that they think, well, I was aware of everything that happened. Well, I was hypnotized. So does that mean I wasn't hypnotized? No, it just means you were aware of what was going on. So everybody has a very unique individual experience, when they experience hypnosis.
And could it also, like, if you want to transform something in your life and not just get rid of a mental belief or program, but is there a way with having a hypnosis session to where you can help somebody, like, think of a person that they would like to become and what they want to do?
Right, right.
With a hypnosis sessions, you can, like, rewire the mind to think like that's who you are now.
Yeah, and you know, because and one of the things that I say when I create one of my hypnosis programs, for YouTube, is I tell people to just get rid of the word want. Don't say that you want something. So, I want to be a certain weight, or I want to have a certain amount of money, or I want to feel, good, or whatever the case may be. Because what happens is subconsciously, the subconscious mind goes, we want something. So that must mean we don't have something. So we want it. So it propagates and keeps the person in a state of want, because you're saying, I want something, so I must continue to want this. Now, I tell people to use the word prefer. So when you say I prefer to be a person who, is XYZ, or, does whatever the case may be, or have whatever, I prefer to be this, then the subconscious mind starts to operate from that perspective of, oh, this is what we prefer, this is what we like, so that means this is how we're going to behave, and this is what we're going to, accomplish. So yeah, you're doing exactly that. You're eliminating, the limiting beliefs, or the behaviors, the patterns of behaviors that are holding somebody back, and you're installing new beliefs, new patterns of, behavior. So if somebody is in a situation and they think, every time I get into this situation, with this person, or this happens, I feel anxiety, I feel stressed, I feel scared, then what you're doing is you're removing those connections to fear and anxiety connected with a person or situation, and you're either neutralizing them, or you're capitalizing on empowering, emotions and behaviors. So, that's one of the first things I tell people to do, or share with people, is that first you can neutralize whatever that negative emotion is, whatever that, negative energy is. Just get it to a place where, you're not feeling negative. And then from there, that's already a huge first step right there. But then if you can now associate that situation with you're feeling empowered, and you're feeling strong, you're feeling like have a voice, then, that's all the better.
And like you said, if you keep like wanting more money, want a new relationship, wanting this, it's almost like you're telling the universe that you want to experience wanting something. So how does that law of attraction? It's almost like a law of attraction aspect. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I tell people that hypnosis can benefit. To me, there's two types of people. There's, the Newtonian physics people, who believe that in order to change something or do something, you have to physically interact with physical matter. And then, there's the law of attraction people, who, come from the perspective of it's energy, we resonate energy, and, we attract energy. So if you're speaking in context of, law of attraction, the thing about the conscious mind is, and speaking in computer bits, the conscious mind is able to process about 7 to 10 bits of information per second, whereas the subconscious mind is processing something around 20 million bits of information per second. So, and I think the challenge with initially the idea of law of attraction is people think, I'm just going to think about this, I'm going to think about it, I'm going to think about it, and it's just going to happen. The thing is that you've got to get into that energetic state. You've got to get into that emotional feeling state. You have to neutralize, those limiting beliefs. So, again, it goes back to that what I was talking about earlier, where the subconscious mind goes, yeah, it makes sense for everybody else, but not for us. So you rewire your subconscious mind to be able to come from that perspective of preference. So that's the energy that you're resonating, and that's the energy that shows up for you. And and it's interesting because I tell people, law of attraction, it's not foo-foo, it's not, it's quantum physics
Hmm.
is what it comes down to, for me. And I think we're coming to find a greater understanding, since whatever it was, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatever the book The Secret came out, or and that wasn't really, it wasn't really some. I mean, it did seem to be like this. Wow, there's this new book, this new idea of thinking, but obviously, it was a concept that had been around for since early humanity. I think early humanity had an understanding about energy and the way we interact with physical reality that was forgotten at one point, in the dark ages, and we're seeing people coming back into a discovery of it now.
Well, it was hidden, or some of it was destroyed.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, it's if you look back at when Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, and of course he was kind of this protege, for of Andrew Carnegie, who wanted him to go out, and he told Napoleon Hill, "I'll give you access to all these wealthy people, everything that I know, and I want you to write this book." And the story goes that the original version of Think and Grow Rich was a book. I think it was called The Law of Success and 16 lessons or something like that. But
mhm.
the first incarnation of the book, um, Andrew Carnegie, or actually no, I believe it was Henry Ford. When you saw the first incarnation of the book, they're like, "There's we don't want people knowing this stuff. We're going to water this down so people don't have access to this information." And then Think and Grow Rich kind of came from that, but it was kind of a little bit of a watered down version of the original information. And the book, I think if it was 16 lessons or whatever it is, it's out there. I have a PDF. You can find it online. It's free. People can read the original version of Think and Grow Rich. But you're right. It was, the elite class was like, we don't want people knowing this stuff. We want to keep people down.
And it goes back from the misconceptions of who we are kind of aspect. And then I could go like just I'll go to where Ambarambi, the Code of Laws of Ambarambi. There was close to 300, but they were able to get pieces of it. And I think there's like 200 and something. You got to go back in that time period. So when I came across this and was reading it, going, okay, this is what BC or current era of this time. How did they know how to have wages? How did they know, you know, uh property taxes and all this other stuff, and the physicians, they had physicians back in those times. And I'm going through all this and I'm like, hold up, wait a second. He had to get this information from someone
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
And how
There's
they categorized these laws was, um there was property owners who were considered the wealthy, then you had the common who were the employees, and then you had the slaves.
yeah,
And a lot, only the property owners and what they call it, the lords and the kings, they got educated. They got the secrets.
yeah,
And they kept it within that category. You call it the elite.
yeah,
They're the ones that got the education. Women didn't,
yeah,
and a lot of men didn't. It
yeah.
was just the higher class, the most. So I found that fascinating. I was like, well, and then there was somebody reigning before Ambarambi that had fewer laws. So I was like so fascinated by like, wow, how do they even know
It
measurements, math, geometry,
it's
all of
an
that?
it's a really interesting thing, and Freddie Silva. I don't know if you're familiar with Freddie Silva or not, but he's got books out, and he's done some really great videos. I've seen a lot of them, most of them actually on, on Gaia TV, but where he just goes back and just says, looks back at a certain period of history, and I think he's talking like 6,000 to 8,000 BC, somewhere around there. It seemed that all of a sudden you had all these different groups of people across the globe from, Asia, Egypt, Middle East, South America, that all of a sudden got really enlightened and began to understand mathematics and, astronomy. And, he poses some very interesting questions of parallel stories between these groups of people across the world who had no connection to one another, who have very similar stories about where some of their information came from. And it's quite interesting because the stuff that you're talking to is, where do we get this information? That of course goes back to that creates a whole other discussion of where the heck did we come from, or how did we get here, and all of that, which is, that can be a pretty big rabbit hole to go down.
Oh, I've already started that rabbit hole, trust me.
Yeah.
And I'm like blown away by it. I was like, wait a minute, these writings were here all along?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And now I'm finding more writings. Like these are ancient civilization writings. Like I could go from Sumerians, Emu Elish, and you got the Egyptian stuff. And what I find fascinating is, the misconception of this Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
And when and then I'm like, "Wait a minute, the United States, North America wasn't always there. It had to be somewhere else at the beginning." And I feel like, because I could see it in my mind's eye, it was like all these continents were actually somewhat clustered together,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then a catastrophe happened and it just split everybody, like all
Yeah.
these continents where there currently are now. I'm like, that makes more, like, even more sense. It feels right.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing too is now, going back to speaking about law of attraction, there's so many parallels between, now if you take law of attraction and say that this was a concept of energy that ancient humanity understood and knew how to be able to manage their energy and control their energy, which then resonated with the energy of physical reality, therefore being able to shape, one's physical reality. There's a lot of common threads and parallels between that, and if you look at standard Judeo, Christianity, having faith, that you can do something, the belief that you can do something, and if you have that, you're able to, you know, move mountains, whatever the case may be. And I think that there were things that humanity understood, and then gradually things became, kind of corrupted, and maybe not necessarily intentionally, maybe sometimes intentionally. And then, we create these stories to fill in the gaps of the things that we don't understand, or the things that were forgotten. But I think no matter what as you look around, Christianity or Buddhism, whatever you want to call it, there are all these things that all kind of seem to go back to the concept of mind, body, spirit, energy.
Yes, and with that, it changes. Okay, here's a question because it just came to me. I'm like, yeah, ask him about when have you experienced with clients, customers during a hypnosis? They were dealing with something physical, like an illness or something to that effect. But they went through a couple of hypnosis sessions and found out I guess the root of why they were having this issue. But once they like they realized it just disappeared? Has that ever happened in some hypnosis sessions?
Not, just understanding the challenge um, doesn't necessarily always go, you know, you see the connection, but you also have to physically, not physically, I use, I'm not literally, but unplug the connection and plug it into something else. So, and I can use myself as an example. There are things that, as I've kind of gone on my mind evolution and I realize things, there are things that I'm able to trace back, that, connections that I have or have had that have dictated the way I've thought, the way I felt, the way I behaved, that I can take that back to, my relationship. Let's just say, the experience that I had, with things relative to my father, which of course go back to experiences that he had with his mother and his grandparents, and then of course, who knows what happened, relative to his grandparents, beyond then, because now we're going back, more than 100 years or whatever the case may be. But just me understanding why something was the way that it was, or why I think this way because I had this experience with my father. Well, you have to break that connection. You have to erase that. You have to feel,
Break the cycle.
you have to break the cycle and feel nothing. So just knowing, okay, well, oh, I act this way because my father said this to me one time, and that made me feel a lot of pain when my father said that to me. So now I feel this pain or this anger or this frustration towards my father. Okay, well, now you know why you feel that way, but you have to obviously address the emotional and mental energy that you're putting on that.
Like,
So,
let that go because it affects every other aspect of your life and what you keep attracting
right,
too.
right.
There's a connection to that, right?
Yeah, so like, one of the things that I've got actually a program I put out a couple months ago on my YouTube channel that's been really popular, and it's a it's a cord cutting um, you know hypnosis program. If somebody, they have been in a relationship with a toxic person, whatever the case may be, um, and they want to move on. They want to move forward. And they go, man, I know that I am screwed up or feeling negative or whatever the case may be because of my relationship with this toxic person. Okay, so now they're aware of why something is. I feel bad. It's associated with this person. But so what I do in the program is, you go through this imagery of you seeing yourself with that person, and that there is this energetic ribbon or tether between the two of you, and you are basically allowing that cord to be cut. So what's happening is that your subconscious mind is getting this imagery of seeing you and the other person, you're connected, and seeing the cord being cut. And the thing about the subconscious mind is the subconscious mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not. It's like when you're having a dream. Something seems really strange and really bizarre and weird, but in the dream you accept it as real. Same thing what's going on when you're experiencing hypnosis. So if your subconscious mind is going, oh, okay, I have this negative chain, this cord connecting me to the other person, this cord makes me feel bad. Okay, we cut the cord and the disconnection is made, therefore the negative energy, the negative emotion goes away. So, it's this metaphorical imagery, but the subconscious mind accepts it as real, and then therefore you're going to have the subconscious programming that results from that. You're not going to feel negative. You're going to feel more positive. You're going to feel untethered, with a cord cut from this toxic person.
Well, I have another question
Yeah.
because we talk about people form habits, habits form their future. Well, even with, changing your thought, changing the way you feel, and doing something new and different on a consistent, like it takes what, 21,
And I was say
28
21
days
days to make a
a
habit.
new
Yeah.
habit stick. Well, with a hypnosis session, could that cut that in half?
Yeah, it can speed it up because what happens is the 21 days to form a habit, consciously doing something, over and over again. It's like this. You talk about that somebody has unconscious incompetence where they don't realize how bad they're doing something. Then it's conscious, incompetence when then you realize how bad you're doing something. Then it goes to conscious competence when you have to consistently think about doing something correctly. And then it's unconscious competence where you don't even have to think about it. So what's going on if you're spending 21 days, you're trying to win by attrition, pounding something into the subconscious mind, and you pick up the habit. But what happens with hypnosis is, you're kind of jump starting something. You're moving it in. You're just getting right in there and allowing the subconscious mind to take the change. Now, for some people, that might take, I've seen people make changes within one hypnosis session. It may take a couple of hypnosis sessions because it's like going to the gym. It's like working out a muscle. So
Mhm.
the more you do it. So, one of the examples that I love to use about that when I was performing on the cruise ships, and this was about 3 or 4 years ago. And one of the things that I do to inspire volunteers to come up on stage is I let them know, look, if you have a goal you want to achieve and you come up here tonight, we're going to enable that to, empower you to make that happen. So, and of course, being on the ship, I would only ever do 2 shows in one night, but you might be on the entire cruise or a few days on the cruise. So you're seeing people that were volunteers on the stage, people that were audience members that saw the show. And I had a woman come up to me. She said, I had no intentions of volunteering for your show, but you said you could help us achieve a goal. And she said, my whole thing is that I'm a chocoholic. And I was talking about, the person and the peanut butter not being debilitating, but for this woman, clearly chocolate was kind of a debilitating thing for her because she was eating too much chocolate. It kind of dictated her patterns of behavior. So she goes, I wanted to not eat chocolate. So she comes up on stage and she's got that goal in her mind and she goes, it's been 4 days. She goes, I haven't had any chocolate. And there's chocolate everywhere on this ship. My friends can't believe it. This is like so incredible. And you think that's obviously a cool story to, hear at the time. And, I hadn't talked to her beyond that. And then a few months ago, she reached out on me on Facebook. She said, I don't know if you remember me or not. I'm the woman on the cruise, stopped eating chocolate. It's been 3 years. And I haven't eaten chocolate. So, I've seen that happen, with people right away. Or it's, if it's, a consistent, I had some things that, early on that I wanted to work on. And I was listening to a particular themed hypnosis program for, every day for, however many weeks it was. And it was weird because as I was going around, I'm like, well, I don't feel any different. I don't notice any difference. And then a situation came up for me. It must have been, 2 or 3 weeks after I began listening to this program. And as soon as I found myself in that situation, you know, I realized that I was responding differently. I was feeling differently, and I was, behaving differently. And that's what all of a sudden was like, oh wow, this really is working. Okay, cool.
Awesome. So self hypnosis can also help.
Yeah, because you're, yeah. I mean, it's a matter of you don't have to physically be there one on one with somebody. That's the nice thing about the day and age that we live in too, is live within, is that we've got access to apps. There's stuff on YouTube. People can explore, and this is what I tell people: there's no right way, there's no wrong way. There's only something that works for you or it doesn't. So explore, different apps, different hypnotists, different programs to see who resonates with you, and then if their style resonates with you, and the particular topic is resonating with you. It's not like 20 years ago, right? Where you just had to go out and find somebody, a local hypnotist, and work with them, one on one, which is a really powerful thing because obviously the hypnotist is able to kind of calibrate and cater the experience to that person's particular requirements. But if you're listening online, you just have access to to more stuff, and can just, it's like going to the gym. You just start lifting a little bit of weight, and then you're lifting more weight.
Oh, wow. And John, do you have any upcoming like workshops besides the programs?
Everything that I've been doing, I've been having a really good time. I mean, obviously the last 2 years has been difficult for everybody, and as a result, I've been able to, spend all my time just creating my digital content. So YouTube's been my big platform right now. They can find me on YouTube. Just look up John Moyer, Hypnosis, or John Moyer. You'll find me that way. Um, I have been offered to do, I've had a lot of offers to do shows, and I've always said no. That a couple weeks ago, I actually did my first stage hypnosis show in 2 years at a university, and that was a lot of fun. But my passion has just been creating content and putting it out there, for the world, so everyone can find me on YouTube.
Well, John, I have a favor.
Yes.
Well, I would like to put a virtual event together to help people. And would you be willing to join me in creating this event to help people change their mind?
That could
And
that could be something I could be open to. We can chat about that and kind of see what you might
I would love
have in
it.
mind.
I would think this would be really amazing, and we could do it virtual.
That has become a big thing for a lot of people. I know I've got some colleagues that they have done very, very well doing virtual hypnosis sessions. That works for them. But being able to connect to people, I'm passionate about hypnotizing people, in person, but sharing ideas about how the mind works. You can do that virtually. That's always exciting.
I would love to. Yes, let's keep in touch. And I put all the information about how they can reach out to you if they have questions, and definitely go to YouTube. I was
Yep.
on one of your videos. I get notifications now,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
I
okay.
feel special. It was how to take your power back from energy
Yeah,
vampires.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was one I just put out a few days ago. Yeah.
So I was like, "Ooh, I gotta listen to this." Because I'm all about protecting my energy, but I
Yep.
love giving.
Yeah.
My energy is all positive, and I am love.
Yeah.
And I've got to expand my love and express my love because it makes me feel even better.
Mm-hmm. You're putting out the positive energy. You're sharing that positive energy, and it just compounds.
And it's the most, that to me is euphoric orgasmic ecstasy. When, but you have to, would you agree that you have to feel it inwards
Yeah.
before?
If you're not resonating within, it's not going to resonate without.
And once I had that experience, it was like a light bulb or aha moment
Mm-hmm.
that I had. I was like, oh, so this is what it is. Oh, I had it in me all this time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's the thing. We've
but
got it
we're
within
taught
us.
it's outside.
Yeah,
We're
that's the
taught
thing. We're taught it's
conditioned love.
outside, and it's not from the outside in. It's from the inside out.
It's not even from your parents. They don't have a clue. They were
Yeah.
taught the same thing.
Yeah. Exactly. And
So I would
for
love. Oh, we're gonna do it. We gotta. We'll. I'll get a hold of you,
okay.
and we'll set something for the spring or summer if you have some availability. It's
Well,
already happened in
it,
the spiritual universal realm.
there
It already
there's
happened. Now we're just gonna line up to it.
line up to it. Perfect. I look forward to it.
Yes. Well, thank you, John.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it very much.
I enjoy these kind of conversations with people like you that are so, like, you're doing a it's a cause that needs to be more educational, more awareness, and waking up to new concepts, new ideas to help transform and be the best version of yourself so you can live your best life now. And why not hypnosis? Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're exactly right, and and I'm grateful that you're spreading the word. You gave me the platform to be able to talk to people about it today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much, and I will be talking to you soon for sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Casey.
Well, there you go. John Moyer explains how hypnosis can help you. Why not? What do you have to lose? Really? Nothing, but so much more you can gain. Why not try hypnosis? Get in contact with John and blow your mind to a whole new way of looking at your life. So, like I said, you never know who I'm going to get on my show. So, stay tuned to Wake Up with Casey.